Hey everybody, welcome back to Yeti Club. Today I'm going to be talking about Six Flags Great Adventure in Jackson, New Jersey. I'm no Nick on this one, I just went with my brother, but we had a great time, so let's get started. Now it's hard not to compare Six Flags to Disney, but you really have to go in with a different mindset. Disney is about a full experience, whereas Six Flags is really just about the thrills. So if you go in looking at it from that perspective, it makes it easier to appreciate Six Flags for what it is. And this Six Flags has a reputation for being one of the best in the country, and it honestly does live up to the hype. But first, let's talk about the downsides. The biggest issue I have with Six Flags is the food options. Pretty much every Six Flags has the exact same food, and this one was no different. You have your burgers, fries, and chicken place, your pizza place, your Mexican place that just serves tacos and burritos, and your Western place, which is really just a burger place with barbecue sauce. This one was exactly the same. We ended up just getting burritos. They were filling, but they were exactly what you would expect. A little bit below average taste and very expensive. Really, if Six Flags wants to step up to the big boys like Disney and Universal, one of the biggest ways it could do that is to focus more on the food. The dining experience adds so much value to parks like Disney and Universal, and Six Flags is just miles behind them. The other main drawback that we encountered was that it poured basically the entire time we were there. And I know that's not Six Flags' fault, but still, we were completely drenched to the bone for about 10 or 11 hours straight. I couldn't actually film any of the rides, that's why I'm using these generic photos from Six Flags. And unfortunately, that meant that they never opened up Kingda Ka, which is probably the #1 attraction there. It's the world's fastest and tallest roller coaster. It goes 128 miles an hour. We were really hoping to ride it, but the weather never allowed us to. We actually never even saw the top. It was up in the clouds the whole day. So while we were very sad that we didn't get to ride that, the rest of the rides really did make up for it. And there was a little plus side to the bad weather, which was that there was no one else in the park. We parked in the third row of the parking lot and literally never had to wait once to get on a ride. But now let's talk about what really matters at Six Flags, of course, the rides. They had all the standard kiddie rides that all Six Flags have, but let's talk about the rides we actually went on, starting off with the lower level rides. They had the Runaway Mine Train, which was decently entertaining. Nothing special, but a good starter coaster. They had a ride called Houdini's Great Escape, which was actually pretty interesting. It's basically just one of those rides where you swing back and forth, but they use optical illusions to make it look like you're going all the way upside down, and they were actually pretty convincing. I put this ride in the low level ride category, but it's really not for the faint of heart. Next up was the Dark Knight Coaster, which was a mouse style coaster, so not too high on the thrill level, but still pretty entertaining, and we were really impressed with how smooth it was for a mouse coaster. Normally on mouse coasters you're getting jerked back and forth constantly, but this was actually super smooth, and it could really be made into a really impressive coaster if they up the theming a little bit. The queue line was actually really impressive, but the ride itself didn't have much theming going on. It was just kind of dark. And then there was the Justice League Battle for Metropolis. This was a 4D interactive shooter ride, but honestly it could have been a lot better if they didn't try to push the shooting aspect. If they just made it a normal 3D ride, it could be actually really fun, sort of like Spider-Man or Transformers at Universal. But when you add in the shooting aspect, which wasn't really executed that well, it just kind of made everything chaotic. You couldn't follow the story through the ride at all. You never really knew what was happening. It was really hard to track your gun through the 3D screens, and it kind of took away from the overall experience. Still fun, but could have been a lot better. Then real quick, I'll go over the rides that we didn't do. Kingda Ka, like I said, we couldn't do because of the weather. El Diablo is just one of those coasters that literally just loops over and over and over again. That's not really entertainment to me, that's just nauseating. The Log Flume, because it was absolutely pouring. Congo Rapids for the same reason. The Cyborg Cyberspin, which wasn't open yet, but still, even when it's open, I don't think I would do it. It seems like a lot of spinning and flipping without that much entertainment. It's their new ride that's going to be opening soon, but seems a little basic to me, not really interested. Zumanjaro, which is just a drop ride. Again, I'm not that entertained by something that's just taking you up, dropping you down. You can get that anywhere. And we didn't do any of their live entertainment, which was really just the characters walking around, which was kind of surprising to me. Other Six Flags that I've been to have a lot of live shows, and I didn't see any of those there, but I may have just missed them. Next up, we got the big time thrill ride. So Batman, Bizarro, and the Green Lantern are all basically the same ride. They're all your standard steel roller coasters, but what Six Flags Great Adventure does different and makes it more entertaining is that they give you different types of vehicles to ride those coasters on. So you have your standard Batman, which is the suspended coaster. Then Bizarro was a floorless coaster, and Green Lantern was a standing coaster. So even though it's all kind of the same ride, they give you a different way to experience it and really adds to the fun. Out of those three, I found Bizarro the most fun. Green Lantern, the restraints really hurt my head and my ears. On a standing roller coaster, the restraints kind of come down here, and my head was just slamming back and forth into it, kind of hurt. And then there was also Skull Mountain, which was an indoor coaster. It's another one that has a good concept, but could really be boosted by some more theming, especially given the queue line, which you're going through this intimidating, creepy mountain called Skull Mountain. You think there's going to be some sort of story involved, but really you just get on and ride through the dark, and that's about it. Finally, we have the Showstoppers, which is the best of the best rides there. First off, there was Nitro, which is a mile-long hypercoaster. It was super smooth, really entertaining. There's not much more to be said about it. It's a really straightforward ride, but it's really fun. Then there was the Joker, which is unlike anything else I've ever ridden before. You sit in two-person pods that basically rotate individually from the other pods on the ride, and the pods can flip at any time, so you may think you know what's coming, but then you just flip out of nowhere and it completely throws you off. And the pods are facing opposite directions, so if you ride it more than once, you get a completely different experience based on which pod you're sitting in. It was unlike any other ride I've ever been on, and it was really, really fun. Then there was El Toro, which is their big famous wooden roller coaster. This was by far the most fun, smooth, entertaining wooden roller coaster I've ever been on. I came into it thinking it was just going to be another wooden roller coaster, your standard edition stuff, but honestly we were blown away. I think it was so fun because of how smooth it was. It was all the speed and thrill of a normal wooden roller coaster, but none of the pain that usually goes with it. And finally, we had the Superman ride. On this one, you ride lying down like you're flying like Superman, and riding that way really changes the game. Going over a flip while riding like that is unlike anything else I've ever done on a roller coaster. The sensation is completely different from anything else you experience, and it's really hard to describe, but this one was definitely our favorite in the park. Now, how does it compare to Kingda Ka? I don't know, hopefully someday we'll be able to tell you, but for now, Superman was our favorite of the park. So if you've been to this Six Flags, let me know what you thought of it, or also let us know if you've been to a different Six Flags that you think has better rides than this one. And now for Today in Disney History. On June 13th, 1910, Mary Wickes was born in St. Louis, Missouri, which is where Nick and I are both from. Mary Wickes was the live-action character model for Cruella de Vil in 101 Dalmatians, and was also the voice of Laverne the Gargoyle in Hunchback of Notre Dame, among many other film and TV roles. Until next time, hoist the colors.